Hi everyone, and thank you to Yvonne Smith for allowing us this opportunity to talk about the Ohio Nurses Association, which is the voice and the professional association for Ohio's registered nurses, and also this opportunity to talk with our premier nursing leader, LoriChovanak, the Chief Executive Officer of the Ohio Nurses Association. So Lori, a few questions for you.
Okay.
First and foremost, how did you transform from a nurse to a nurse executive?
So I have a long history as a cardiac nurse. I graduated in 1993 and got a job in my local hospital as a nurse and went into cardiology and spent about 23 years there. And continue to do so as a nurse practitioner in a contingent role at Ohio Health. But all the while that I was a nurse working, I was always involved in my professional association. I felt that it was a responsibility to make sure that I was keenly aware of the issues that were affecting our practice and ultimately how we were caring for patients. So additionally, I quickly realized as a nurse that what might have seemed easy was not quite so easy in terms of the politics that infuse healthcare. So we know what we need to do for patients and we're trained in that, but politics, resources, things get in the way of that. And so rather than getting frustrated by that, I saw association work as a conduit for addressing issues in a real positive way and networking with others that had the same issues and the same desire to bring the profession forward.
That's great. So you were the Chief Executive Officer of the Montana Nurses Association, and now you've been with ONA for about 3 years, right?
Yeah, so I was in various roles along the way. I was actively engaged in my local collective bargaining unit within the hospital and negotiated contracts with management through that collective bargaining process to affect the working conditions and address issues with management in the hospital. Then I was very active on the board of the association in several different roles over the years, and ultimately ended up becoming executive director of Montana Nurses Association. Made some national connections, and when Ohio's CEO was retiring, I got a call to consider throwing my name in the hat. So
yeah,
those conversations went well, and I'm here.
Well, we've been lucky to have you for 3 years.
Thank you.
So how would you describe the Ohio Nurses Association?
The Ohio Nurses Association, and really any state association, is the voice of the nurses in that state. It is our job to make sure that we're paying attention to any statutory or legislative changes that are going on that affect not just our practice, but also healthcare as a whole, and ultimately the care of the patients in the state. The other role is this is our connection to the national organization, the American Nurses Association. It's just the perfect conduit for having nurses come together and take strategic direction in addressing the issues where a nurse's voice needs to be heard.
Yeah, very good. So in your role as the CEO, I'm sure you get people wanting or needing things all the time. So how do you make decisions regarding the allocation of resources, like staff time and money and all of that?
So our organization is run by a 15-member board. We're a member-driven organization. Those board members are actually elected by the rest of the members of the association, of which we have just over 10,000. And so the board really comes together at their meetings and checks in on the strategic plan. And that is, what do they feel the association as a whole needs to focus on? Then as CEO, it's my role to make sure that our staff team of 25 carry out the strategies that the board has lined out. So in terms of how we decide, we really use that strategic plan, that member-driven document to put our energies in those directions. But we also have only so much money, and so we go through a budgeting process. The staff all contribute to that. The board ultimately approves that. But we look at really every aspect of our organizational operation, what it costs, and how much money we have, and then we make priorities.
Yeah. I'm sure some of those are tough too, right? Some tough decisions. Speaking of tough decisions, describe one problem you faced at ONA and how you overcame or are addressing that problem.
One of the things that has been a cultural aspect of really all the nursing associations. We've been around for over 100 years, and we're nurses, so we want to just always be taking care of things, right? And fixing things for people. And so one of the things that we've done through that is with our dues, we've offered a lot of discounts. So we've offered a discount for new graduates, and we've offered a discount for if you're retired, or if you're just partially retired, or if you're in school and a full-time student, and it kind of goes on and on. You can actually even decide, do I want to be a member in the district where I live or where I work? And so with all of these different nuances with the dues, and without going into more detail, we currently have a dues complexity that offers over 2,000 dues rates. It's the same concept of conversations. If you have 3 people, I talk to you, you talk to them, they talk to me, and we have 3 conversations. If there's 5 people, that makes 10 conversation possibilities. If there's 10 people, that makes for 45 conversation possibilities. And so with every single dues deduction or break that we give, and how it fits into our structure, that's how we end up with 2,000 dues rates.
Sounds confusing.
Yes. So with that, we've pulled together a task force to look at our governance structure and look at those dues rates, knowing that as an organization, we know the value of what we bring to registered nurses in the state of Ohio. But we need to make sure that that we don't have that kind of complexity, so that we can draw members to us, that they'll join us, and that it makes sense, and that it's a fair dues rate across the board.
Right.
So that's one that comes to mind.
Yeah. Well, this leads into the next question very well, because one thing that I've learned about you, or I guess 2 things that I've learned about you, is that you're very good at looking into the future to see what something can be. For example, what ONA can be and the potential of the association. And you're also very forward-thinking. So seeing that these are a couple of your leadership strengths, how do you envision the Ohio Nurses Association transforming in the next 10 years?
I absolutely think that we have to keep up with the digital age. And I don't see that as intimidating or cumbersome. I see it as exciting. There's so many things that we can do in terms of communicating and reaching our members where they are. We live in a hyper-distracted world, and I've said this, you've heard me say this before, but we have an 8-second attention span, and goldfish have a 9-second attention span.
Oh goodness.
Now that doesn't mean we have 8 seconds to get our message across. It means we have 8 seconds to capture somebody's attention. So whether we're talking to somebody about why the value, why they should value ONA as their organization, in hopes that they'll join our network of nurses to be a powerful voice in Ohio. You know, that's something that we definitely need to pay attention to. Every bit as much as just in how we communicate effectively to our members, making sure that the way we communicate is a way that they can actually grasp it, keeping it simple, not because they don't understand complex things, but because they don't have time to sift through complex conversations. So I think keeping in mind that our communication is going to be important. And then the other thing is just really anticipating members' needs before they have to bring them to us. Certainly listening to the members, but looking ahead at what are nurses going to need coming forward, in the future, and how can we help them and be a resource to them as they navigate those types of things.
Perfect. Yeah. So, do you feel your background as a nurse has given you an edge as an executive? And additionally, what does being a nurse leader mean to you?
So I love this question. And the reason I do is because I have not been, just like probably every other nurse out there that hasn't gone to additional education for executive leadership. That's not something that's included really in our education. We have a little bit of nurse management, management and leadership, but it's not a core in our curriculum. However, I think we're perfectly prepared to be leaders. And so I look at the association as a patient, and I use the nursing process. So I assess the needs. I look at the symptoms, like what's going wrong, what's going right, and then figuring out a solution. What do I need to fix that?
I love that.
Yeah,
That's
and
really
then once I figure out what we need to do to fix it, who do I need, and what are all the different services and things that we need to draw in, all the smart people that have different thoughts to come in, figure out a solution, and then of course we evaluate it, and then we evaluate to see if our intervention was effective. And if it wasn't, then we evaluate for the new problems, and then we go forward. So any nurse is completely and totally prepared for executive leadership.
I love that.
It's just a different way of looking at it.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way, treating the association like a patient.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how I operate. The other thing is, in terms of being a nurse in an executive leader position, nurses are the most trusted and honest profession in terms of the Gallup poll. So I do notice when I'm in front of a group of people, they listen very intently. And I think that that's because I'm a nurse.
Yeah.
And then additionally, because I do still practice, I am able to say not only do the members of Ohio Nurses Association experience this, or this is what we're hearing, I can sometimes say, firsthand, this is what I noticed too.
That's right.
So I appreciate that that I have that, and that I can speak from that point of view.
So what do you feel has been instrumental in your success as an executive?
You can't be successful as an executive or a leader unless you have a good team. And I truly believe that. Have you heard that before?
I just knew you were going to say that.
But there's not one person that knows it all. And it takes so many minds to come up with creative new ideas. So I think that's my number one, and I can't seem to move on from that being really the main thing, recipe for success. So surrounding yourself with good leaders and really people that can fill the gaps of the knowledge that I don't have, and that really kind of completes the team. So we have 25 amazing people that all bring something different. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, as someone who works under you, I can always tell that that's really your mentality, and I think that really shows with the way you respect your management team, for example, and how much you look to them and value their input in any situation. So
Thank you.
I knew you were going to say that. Last question.
Okay.
What is the most important lesson you've learned along your journey from nurse to executive?
I think that this whole journey in nursing and really adulthood has been a learning experience, and I continue to learn and grow all the time. Every day I learn something new and I love it. And usually it's from somebody on staff or, anyone I'm interacting with. I think the most important lesson though I learned is being able to have a healthy dialogue with people that you don't see eye to eye with. Instead of running from those individuals who might not see it your way, I think boldly engaging those conversations and putting yourself in their shoes to understand where they're coming from, because we're living in a world of constant change, and really to move forward in the future as a leader, compromise has to happen and different points of view have to occur. So it's the best way really to find common ground and move things forward is to understand those points of view so that you can see where things can come together. So healthy dialogue is super important, and being able to say what is on your mind and your opinion, even though you might not think it's popular. And I think that really adds to any work in leadership.
Yeah, I agree. And I respect your honesty when it comes to different situations too, because I know you'll always say what you truly feel, but in a respectful way too.
Right.
I think that's super important in a leader. So, well, we're wrapping up this interview. And again, thank you, Yvonne, for allowing us this opportunity to speak to your class and have Lori talk about herself a little bit and the association a little bit as well. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap this up?
Yeah, absolutely. I one of the most important aspects, I think, of my role as CEO at Ohio Nurses is being a resource to nurses coming along. It's important to me that I'm available and that I have the ability to mentor when I have the opportunity. I think that there's health policy classes and leadership classes, management, any of those where you might have an assignment that you need to interview nurse execs, or if you need to attend like the Board of Nursing or go to a health policy meeting, call us because we will attend with you. Or we can be that resource for you to show you what opportunities there are. But anytime we can support new nurses in bringing them forward and advancing their professional education is it's an honor, not a bother.
Right.
My email address is LChovanak@ohnurses.org, and I'll spell that because my name is complex. It's LCHOV like Victor, ANAK@ohnurses.org. Feel free to reach out, and you can go to our website too, check it out, and I know that my contact information is there too. So if I can't help you, we have, like I said, 25 experts here on staff that we'd love to help you along. So, and Yvonne, thank you. And Molly, thanks for sitting and interviewing with me.
No problem.
All right.
My honor.
All right,
Thank you.